Hello and you're very welcome to another edition of This Racing Life. This week we're here in the west of Ireland at Ballinrobe Racecourse, which recently celebrated its centenary of racing. And to commemorate 100 years of racing here at Ballinrobe Racecourse, the committee commissioned a book, A History in the Making. We caught up with its editor, Avril Staunton.
History in the making, indeed. There's a lot of history surrounding Ballinrobe Racecourse, but it was a great year, obviously, to have a book and celebrate the 100th anniversary of racing taking place here, actually, on this site. Based, Rathcarrion, which you can see over in the distance, was an area that was famous in the past for various reasons, but the Knox estate covered this area and they would have held racing on a smaller basis in this area. So about 100 years ago, a group got together and signed a lease for the premises here, or the land here in Ballinrobe, and the first race meeting took place on the 2nd of October 1921. So from strength to strength it went from there. So we kind of felt that this is history in the making, because hopefully it'll be going from strength to strength in the future as well.
Definitely, and you get to the 100th anniversary. You've written 3 books to date, but how did the idea come to write a book? We've been through a lockdown. Was it a communal thing with the committee, or? Oh,
it would have been John Flannelly, the manager, and the committee. They had decided they'd like to celebrate the 100th anniversary, and this might be an appropriate way to do it. Now, there was no sign of lockdown when we started this project, of course, but it developed through lockdown, which was a help in some ways, because it took out a lot of the peripheral stuff that would go on, so we were able to concentrate on it. And we had an editorial committee and we discussed all aspects of what we'd like to have in the book. But I felt that it was important to have the staff from behind the scenes included, and the work that goes on the course, because without the course we'd have no racing. Now, obviously, I wouldn't have knowledge of all of the things that go on, so we invited various people to contribute to the book.
And that's one thing I find about Ballinrobe. You think about Ballinrobe, it's continuous improvement, but go back a bit to start. Your husband, of course, is chairman here for 25 years, John.
That's right. And when he came on board, I think there were only a few race meetings in the year.
I remember the old weigh room.
It was an old tin shed, as they say.
That's right.
They had a wooden race stand to start with back in 1922, and then eventually they got the new stand at that point, which was a galvanised stand. And of course, when the roof was taken off or blew off for the 50th time back in the very early 90s, they decided, it's time to start getting something more durable, if you like. And that's when a lot of the improvements began, because there was finance available then for grant aid. So they got in very early in the early 90s and started applying for grant aid, and they wanted to hold on to the course because there was threats of the course closing.
Okay.
And unfortunately, many courses did close, but they were very keen in Ballinrobe not to lose their racetrack, because there's such a long history of racing and breeding, and a horse. There was a cavalry barracks here for since the 1700s. So there was a big tradition of racing and all the peripheral things that go with horses, like harness makers and saddlers and everything. Yeah. So they were very keen to hold on to their race course. So they started developments in the 1990s, and then brought John Flannelly on as manager, which transformed the way they could operate, because they had somebody who was intimately knowledgeable about land and everything like that, and had a great interest in racing himself. So that was a great move. And then they extended the committee and brought new people from different parts of Mayo and Galway onto the committee, and that brought new blood in, and of course lots of ideas. Usually people who are interested in racing happen to be involved, so that was a great start too. So it went from strength to strength over the years, when they had 1 race meeting a year, then 2, and now we have 10.
That's right, and the facilities here are second to none, of course, but you can have all the best facilities in the world, but if you don't have the people, you have nothing. And that's one thing about Ballinrobe. There's great community feel to the place.
Absolutely. That is the one thing that people do say about Ballinrobe. that you'll meet everybody and anybody in Ballinrobe, because people mix around together. It's one of the race courses where you'll find the local farmer, the local GP, the merchant princess, but they're all mixing together and chatting on the grounds of the course, and that has always been the way. And Ballinrobe always depended on the locals and the people from Mayo, Sligo, Roscommon, Galway, Clare to support Ballinrobe, and they did faithfully over the years, and that really gave them the courage to go on and, you know, improve things and look forward to the future. So it was the patrons really that drove everything at the beginning.
Back to the book, how happy are you with it? It's fantastic production, and I look forward to really getting stuck into it, because so many layers to it.
Well, I think people are happy with it because it covers a lot of different aspects of racing. Like you have the Claire Flannelly, who's our marketing manager and IT expert. She wrote about women in racing. We have all about the racetrack, as I said. Then there are about 20 or 30 memoirs from various people like Joanna Morgan and Emer Mulhern, and various people who've written pieces of their memories of Ballinrobe, which gave great balance to the book.
We're getting back to, of course, the very first meeting back in October 1921, a bit of archive history of it, if you like.
That's right. The newspaper cutting, which was a great find, because we had boxes of stuff at home from my husband's father, and it was just a little bit about the first race meeting. It was to coincide with a political rally on the day, and just for the race, it just states here that all the races must be ridden in the colours and declared at the time of entry, and the judges' decisions would be final in all cases. Objections to be lodged in writing within 10 minutes after the races. And then about there was a sweepstake run on the same day, which would have been a fundraiser, and then the political meeting would be attended by Sean McKeown TD, Thomas Maguire TD, and William Sayers TD, and they suggested you come in your thousands, and we believe thousands did come to that first race meeting in Ballinrobe on the 2nd of October 1921.
That's where it got rolling from. That was the
very first one. And then we have there were the official racing rules. They joined up in 1922, and here we have a race card from 1923. So these race cards, this design was used for many years, and you can see a little map here of the original track, and it's interesting just to look at. They had an enclosure and they had another area here. In fact, there's a photograph here that shows you the external, and there were two enclosures, the inner and the outer enclosure. But here you have the outer enclosure, and you can see all the tents for the catering and everything out here.
And when you look back over the years coming here, you walk in here today and see the facilities that are here, the track extension, all it must be a bit surreal, isn't it?
Well, it's just it's you hear it from my point of view. You hear it from people that come back visiting every year. They're talking about the improvements that have been made, and they're always amazed at the latest improvement, and they don't even know about the future improvements that are to be dealt with in due course. But I'm sure some of the other experts will talk to you about the excitement about the future as well here.
We also caught up with committee member Sean O'Connell, who wrote a chapter in the book about some of the fantastic horses that have raced here over the years.
Well, I've been on the committee for a lot of years, Fran, and when we talked about putting the book together, I have a great interest in horse racing. In fact, I have a great interest in lots of the areas of the industry, both in the breeding, going to the races, have the odd punt, and I love the horses. And John Flannelly asked me would I maybe put something together on some of the great horses that have run here at Ballinrobe, with the focus on those that have won, because we've had a lot of great horses that have run but maybe haven't won here, you know. So we tried to put a chapter together on those horses, and maybe make it a little more than just a list of horses, you know, maybe add some of the atmosphere and some of the background and the stories of those horses. So yeah, it was a labour of love, really. You know, I enjoyed it.
Ah, yeah, and reminisce about great times. You've had a Ascot Gold Cup winner here, an Irish St. Leger winner here.
That's right. Rite of Passage, an Ascot Gold Cup winner. Dermot Weld is a great supporter of the track. Brings a lot of his nice horses here. I think he always talks about the ground being very suitable for good horses. And if I'm not mistaken, when Rite of Passage won here, you might have been looking at the seat of Pat Mullin's pants in front of you there,
a long way ahead of me.
Yeah, he won easily here that day, and the horse went on to finish third in the Cheltenham Bumper, and then ultimately switched his attentions to the track and won, I think, 2 Gold Cups at Ascot, which is a fantastic achievement for a horse. And of course, one of my own personal favourites, Wicklow Brave. What a brilliant horse. I remember one time being in the stand at Cheltenham and watching the county hurdle and seeing out of the corner of my eye this horse coming, joining in at the back like he had just literally joined in as they came down the hill, sluiced through the field and won the county hurdle off, I'm guessing something like 130 or something like that. Well in is the way I'd put it. I saw Frankie Dettori jump off the same horse at the Curragh after winning Irish St. Leger.
A famous win, that.
A famous win. And to see that same horse lying out here in Ballinrobe in a novice chase at the start of his chase career was a special treat.
Going back to the early 90s, really, iconic horse, Doran's Pride.
Yeah, Doran's Tom Doran, a Mayo man. His colours sport the green and the red stars of the Mayo colours, and Doran's Pride lined up here in a bumper, I think back in maybe 1994. Went off reasonably well supported, I think 7-2, which in a bumper here in Ballinrobe, a local man, and I think really, Tom really enjoyed it. When I say local to Mayo, he's from North Mayo, but when you look at the career of what Doran's Pride did afterwards, he started here, but he really became, I suppose, the iconic horse from the area, and for the owner, winning all those races at Cheltenham, winning the Stairs at Cheltenham, but winning so many times at Leopardstown. He even won a flat handicap at Leopardstown. He won the November handicaps, which again, the versatility and the talent that he had, so we've had lots of really good horses over the years here at Ballinrobe.
Yeah, indeed. The bumpers, the maiden hurdles, draws a great starting point for them, but on a personal level, you had a very good day back here. Ruby Walsh rode a winner.
That's true, yeah. 31st of August 2003. My great friend, lifelong pal of mine, Tom Tracy, and myself, we had a horse called Let's Try Again, trained by a great trainer and friend of ours, Leslie Young, down in Templemore. And
obviously got the name by plenty of practice over the years trying to find one.
Yeah. We had owned the horse as part of a syndicate, and previously he had run at the old Dundalk track before it became an all-weather track, and we'd had, if I put it like this, we'd had a few quid on him, with a bunch of lads from college, and he just didn't quite get home that day. He got chained on the line, finished second, did a leg, and then Tom and I decided to take him out of the syndicate. We bought him out, and we looked after him for a couple of years, and we brought him here to Ballinrobe, and it was a dream because he was good enough to win a 2-mile handicap hurdle here. And I remember as he was jocked up over here, Leslie said to young Ruby Walsh, this lad, he said, was placed in a classic trial at Goran. And Ruby gave us a wink and rode a brilliant race, and he won that day for us, so it was a special treat for us leading in our own horse here at our own track.
We also catch up with local trainer Michael Flannery, who's enjoyed plenty of success here at his local track and is also a member of the race committee.
I was in the pub business, and that was my main source of income, and restaurant business for years. It was 20 years at it. Now I'm not at it, but I'm still tipping away at a few horses. I enjoy it. I love doing it. And I remember when I got my licence, I used to originally, when I started training first, I trained with a Sean Stagg who had a licence in Honeymouth. And then I got my own licence in the 90s, 1990, I think it was, or maybe 2001. I think I got my own licence then, and I used to have train a few horses at the back of the pub, walk them up the road, shows you how things have changed since. And but even when I went for my licence, I remember and the steward asking me, "Are you mad? Training horses in Ballinrobe?" I was like, yeah, but I want to live in Ballinrobe, and it's great that the likes of Ballinrobe hung on to the course here. I'm going back, I started here, I'm back doing this since 1988 or 86, you know, and then complete change. Credit to the committee that was involved then. There was no media rights, there was no nothing. They did hang on to the track here. Like, I'm going back to when I remember back to years when I was a young lad, and horse boxes would come down the night before in Ballinrobe, and they'd be stable all around town with horses, and then there'd be a few stables here. So then a period came where things didn't look good for the track, and so I credit the committee that did hang on at that time. And since the stand was built in the 1990s, that time, you know, it's developed ever since.
Has it surprised you how well things have gone?
Probably now looking back, yeah, but of course, you know, it happens gradually. Every year there's something done, and as I says, time flies by.
Well, one of the most important and often unseen aspects of any race course is the track management, and here at Ballinrobe we're going to catch up with track manager Colin Flannelly to get a look what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I started off when I was 11 or 12. I'd say you probably remember myself. I was taking the number cloths if he coming back in out of the races, and I progressed on from that, and I got a job then cleaning stables, and I went with the foreman at the time, Mickey O'Malley, and he kind of took me under his wing, and I started learning a lot about ground and the upkeep of it, and I progressed on from there. And then during the winters I used to go to different racecourses, so I used to go to Leopardstown, Fairy House, and I went to Cheltenham then for a few seasons as well for the festival, just to progress my knowledge of groundworks and all that, and I just took it from there, and now I'm full-time here now. I'm loving it.
And just on them trips away, and you obviously spent a good bit of time in Cheltenham, you're always learning?
Yeah, always learning, always picking up new things, new methods of doing things, taking it back to Ballinrobe then and applying it how best it can work to our racecourse. Mightn't always what works over there might not work here, but it's the experience, it's the knowledge, it's meeting the people, it's meeting new suppliers, everything. So you just take it all together and you bring it back and apply it as best we can to Ballinrobe.
And in your time here, the fixture list increased, 10 fixtures at the minute, an outer track now, which is open in 2013, and you know, the surface seems to have improved year on year. Yeah,
well, I have a good team of lads working with me here, and we take great pride in what we do, and we always try and provide a top quality surface here. We're, as you said, the new track opened in 2013, that's given us great expanse in what we can do with our national hunt cards. We can comfortably host the 10 meetings now, hope to maybe increase it years down the line, but yeah, we're it's an ongoing process, you know, we're constantly striving to be as good as we can.
And you see all the equipment you have here today, we're obviously in your barn with the best of the best and some innovations you've brought about yourself, but most importantly you've got a very good watering system. Heat wave this year in July, 30 degrees, that was busy.
Yeah, that was a huge challenge. We're very lucky we had the watering system in place. We're very lucky with the committee we have here. They will let us invest in our track, because you see, if without the racing, the race course is nothing like. So we invested heavily in the watering system. We've been using it for the last few years, and it really came to fruition there in July. We could get the water out so we could have safe ground for horse and jockey.
One of the innovations, of course, modern technology. Fantastic mowers here for track maintenance, an aerator machine. What does this do?
So there's a lot of compaction with horse racing between the horses actually running on the ground themselves and the rolling and putting back and cutting grass, whatever. So this breaks up the aeration. This is a new machine we bought here a couple of months ago. It goes down deep, it breaks up the soil a bit, and it allows the water to flow down through it better. So that's just one of the many pieces of the machines we have here. We've about 36 different pieces of equipment altogether to keep the track going.
And equipment is one thing, you can't get away from manual labour, of course. This might break up the ground when it gets compacted, but the only way to fill in the holes is by hand. Yeah,
so a few years ago I wanted to come up with a more efficient way of filling the divots. So a local company, AgriSpread here, came up with this machine for me. We designed it together, so it gives a constant feed of our divot mix to the back of the machine, and 5 or 6 of us, depends on how many I have, walk behind the machine, and we fill the divots with this. It keeps us going in a straight line. It's very efficient, and there's no divots or holes missed.
Time saving, but it gets a better result at the end.
Absolutely, I would think we would do it in about 60% of the time and far more accurate.
What is your team for the winter now? You start racing back next April in 2022, but is it just looking at things to improve, general maintenance?
General maintenance, always looking things to improve. Just before the lads left there, before we took a ridge out at the 1 furlong mark, so I'll just keep an eye on that all winter now, but stay off the track as much as we can. We're very wet down here this time of the year. Compared to the east, we probably get 50% more rain at least, so we're quite wet down here during the winter, so we do stay away from it. But we have plenty of other jobs, machinery maintenance, as I said earlier, we're building, so yeah, kept busy.
John Flannelly has been manager here at Ballinrobe Racecourse for 22 years. In that time he's overseen a vast array of improvements and developments here at the track.
Well, if I go back to my earliest memory, it's back in the late 60s actually. I remember my dad bringing me here on the back of the bike on the carrier. I didn't know where I was going, this races, I didn't know anything about it. I was only a small little boy and I was hanging on for dear life, but as the one says, that's where it started, and now that's history.
You started here 22 years ago. The track year on year with the support of your committee and all the racecourse here, it's just, for me, continuous improvement is what I think about Ballinrobe. Every year we come back here, there's something new done.
There is, yeah, like as you say, I'm 22 years here and I've been a part of the recent development through that time. But, you know, we always had a project on the go here, and when we had one project on, we would be looking at the next project, because there was a lot of projects to get through to get us up to the standard we are today. And you know, I've always promised myself that I stop building, but every year I build something else, so it just has been a progression that way.
It has, and the bars, restaurants, the facilities for the professionals, they're all top notch.
Yeah, look, we invested in, not alone in the public coming in the gate, but in the industry as well, and we like to have things right for people when they come here and have comfort, and they like coming to Ballinrobe.
And John, in the last 20 years, the quality of the programme here, the competitiveness of the field sizes, we've had some wonderful horses compete here. What would be your favourite?
As you say, a lot of horses, good horses, have come here and have come out from here and gone on to better things. But I would have to say my highlight would have been Wicklow Brave coming back here to win his beginner's steeplechase. Wicklow Brave, as you know, had done everything. You know, a heart like a lion, like he's a brilliant horse, and he came back to win the Tiger Roll beginner's chase on McHale Day. Tiger Roll won it in 2016. And Wicklow Brave won it in 19. And you know, it's great to see horses like that, and horses like Rite of Passage, who went on to win the Ascot Gold Cup. And it's great to see owners and trainers having the confidence to bring their horses here, because they know they get decent ground, they know the ground is looked after well, and you know, that augurs well for us when we're trying to make the effort that we see that happening. And
just on the ground, one of the big features of Ballinrobe, of course, 2013 you opened up your track extension. It's opened up a whole new avenue for you as regards jump racing.
It did, yeah. You know, it's added on 8 acres of track. It took a long time to get there. It took us a long time to build it. It was a very slow process. But in 2013 we opened it up. I remember on the day standing here in the enclosure watching. And I said it was about by the third race that I'd actually realised, oh, we're out there. I was so intent watching the horses to make sure everything, and we knew it was right. We two of our local guys, and Larkin Wire, our clerk of the course, they had ridden it 3 weeks before that. And I have a video of it somewhere, it's great. And I remember the three of them finishing up, and the three of them were smiling, and I said, right, we're okay. And I knew we were okay, but when horses went out there for the first time, you know, your heart would be given a bit of a skip. But it has worked out really well, and the jockeys like it, and the trainers like it, and it's expanded our track.
And the fixture list, of course, has increased 10 meetings at present.
Yeah, I think when I started here we had 5 that year, and I think I took a 6th one later on in the year, and we've worked our way up to 10. We probably do a little more than that. Look, we're in the west of Ireland. You see in the book, like, I think we have an average rainfall of 1.3 metres. which would be twice what's in the east. So that just makes the job that little bit harder. No, look, it's great. It's great.
And just on Ballinrobe, it's a community, isn't it? The town, the racetrack, it's all intertwined, and you make a point of that.
Yeah, we interact with all the groups around. Like Ballinrobe Racecourse are main sponsors of our local GA club. I think we're the only racecourse to do that in the country. We have our cycling club here. They use our Ramblins Roadway. Our rugby club, athletics, the agricultural shows here. The fire brigades do their training here. So there's a lot in the community using Ballinrobe, and it's great to be able to give it back as well, and it's an amenity for those people, and they appreciate it, and that interaction with the community works very well, because we get great support here, we get great support from sponsors, and it all works well together, but you have to put the work into to make that happen.
It's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street, yeah. It's a two-way street, yeah.
And just on the local sponsors, you mentioned McHale Day, of course, the Mayo National is run here, a fantastic day, races increase in quality every year, but that local sponsorship is key to it as well. You bring everybody with you.
You do, yeah. We were really delighted to get McHale on board, and it's fine, so much money goes into the races, but to have the McHale name, they're a worldwide brand at this stage, and they're interested in racing themselves, which adds to it. Because if you have a company that said interested in racing, the door's half open before you go to them. But we have loads of other local sponsors around Mayo and Galway, and they have been with us for years. And even through the lockdown, they were able to stay with us, which was great. And I approached them all. We did deals with them, and there was no issue. They stayed with us. They like to see what we're doing here, and it's good.
And just for yourself, it's a bit of a family, I'm not going to say a family business, but all your family are involved here in the track, and it's a real effort by all of you.
Yeah, that was more by accident than design, to be honest. My wife Anne is she's office manager. She's been by my side since ever we did anything together. Carl runs the track now, does a great job out there, and Claire does all our IT and all our marketing. So and I have Johnny and Neve. Anytime they're around, they're always hauled in. But that's what happened. We needed a body here, we needed a body there. So they were saying, "Come on, you, quick!" And that's what happened, and that's how we progressed. But it has worked out well, and they enjoy it, and it's a huge backup to me to have your family behind you, because you need people to have your back, and somebody has your back when your family are working with you.
Very much so, and on the book, of course, a work in progress, if you like, 100 years of Ballinrobe, that took a bit of work as well. Yeah,
it took I think 18 months to 2 years. We set out at the start, we didn't want to publish some token booklet. We wanted to get something that people would relate to, with good content in it. And look at our editor, Avril. She's been absolutely brilliant. She has a load of experience in this. She's a local historian. She wrote the history piece on it. I think she had 3 times the amount of information, but she had to whittle it down. And no better lady. But you can see there's a bit of professional input into it, and that was totally hers. We all added little bits, and lots of people wrote memoirs and all that kind of stuff. But there's some lovely information in there. There's some things that people mightn't necessarily know about a racetrack, and I think it'll be good reading. It'll be a great stocking filler to come this Christmas, and it can be bought online on our website, and I think a lot of people out there will enjoy it.
Well, that's it for this edition of This Racing Life. Many thanks to all the people who took part. We hope you enjoyed it. See you back here next week.